What is poppin', fight fans? And welcome to another edition of the Mystic Hour Live. I'm your host, Darnell Giovanni, aka Mystic Black, and we are here to talk about such an event. UFC 264 took place this past Saturday in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the T-Mobile Arena. 21,000 fans in there screaming at the top of their lungs. We were back in Las Vegas with a full crowd. This is the first time since the pandemic there's been a full crowd for the UFC in Vegas, and it was amazing. It was everything that we all thought it would be, minus maybe in the main event we didn't get that definitive result that we wanted to see, but we still got a good show, which at the end of the day is what we're always looking for. Before we get started into UFC 264, just wanted to say thank you to everybody out there who's been watching the videos, the interviews with Ariel Helwani, Megan O'Leary, Danny Chavez, Jessica I appreciate it so much. Over 20,000 views on all those videos, and I can't be more thankful to everybody out there leaving your comments, good or bad. I appreciate you for watching, period, and that is very important to me, and you guys don't understand how much that means to me. But there's going to be some more things coming in the next coming weeks. I know everybody's been talking about, oh my God, your background, you need this, you need that. I promise you guys, I got a full set coming for you. And this has been a long time in the works. I know I started this a year ago, from sitting on my couch to sitting in my room, a couple different ways I've gone about it, but I am going to give you this at the most high quality way that I can. And that's in my control. So there's going to be a time where I take a week or two off, and that's just to prepare everything. And then I'm going to come back at you guys strong. And I appreciate that, the support that everybody's giving me, from buying the merch to donating to studio setup and all that jazz. I appreciate it. More interviews coming, of course. And I got a brand new show that I'm going to be premiering next month. And I can't wait to give you guys that as well. So more things to come. And I appreciate everybody on YouTube, Facebook, where you're watching, when you're going to watch this, Instagram as well. I appreciate everybody. But let's jump right into it. UFC 264, we had Conor McGregor take on Dustin Poirier in their third matchup. Of course, Conor McGregor won the first one 7 years ago by knockout, first round. Dustin Poirier won the most recent in January, second round, KO as well. And then they had this third fight. And this, my God, there was just so much going into it in a sense, in every sense of the way, from how Conor was at the press conference to Dustin not really wanting to react to what Conor was doing. There was just so many things happening. But for me, at the end of the day, there was a fight. That what was going to happen. There was a fight that we needed to see on Saturday night. No matter what antics happened before, that didn't tell me anything. That what told me everything was what's going to happen in that octagon on Saturday. What did happen in that octagon on Saturday. And we had an unfortunate result. Of course, Conor McGregor ended up breaking his tibia and his fibia, which I originally thought was his ankle, but it was his tibia and his fibia. In that first round, Conor looked good. He was throwing kicks, he was throwing calf kicks, which I assumed that he was going to do, because Conor is a guy to where you start doing something to him, he wants to learn and do it back. He starts throwing calf kicks at Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is throwing them right back. I think he caught Dustin Poirier with something, but nothing too crazy. Dustin Poirier ends up catching him, and he was a little rocked. He clinches up with Dustin. Dustin ends up taking him down. Dustin's on top, throwing ground and pound at Conor. Conor's throwing elbows from the bottom. Oh, before that, Conor caught him in a guillotine, which Dustin actually said was a little bit deeper than he thought it anticipated. But he did everything right, of course, to get out of that. Conor is throwing elbows from the bottom. Dustin's throwing hard from the top. Conor ends up getting up, and as soon as he throws a kick towards Dustin Poirier, it hits his elbow and it breaks that leg immediately. He steps back. You see him go down in pain. Dustin tries to hop on top of him, and the round ends. Conor does not get up from the floor after this moment. Fight is called off. TKO, doctor stoppage. Dustin Poirier is your winner. No matter what anybody says, there's a winner and there's a loser. Dustin Poirier did what he had to do, and he won that fight. There's no arguments about it. We're not going to do that for everybody. He broke his leg. Listen, as much as everybody, including myself, would love to see the second round, what happened. And at the same time, too, I want to say to some people who are speaking about Conor and, oh, if it went to a second round, it wouldn't have gotten better. It probably was going to get worse. I understand that. Trust me, I understand that in a sense of Conor McGregor doesn't get better as the fight goes longer. Conor McGregor is a guy, first round, that's where he's giving you nastiness, you know? Second round, it's you never know, depending on who he's fighting. But with a guy who's as active as Dustin Poirier, that is a whole different ballgame, my friends. Dustin Poirier gets better as the fight goes on. So we don't know what was going to happen in those other rounds. But a couple of things that I took from that, from this third meeting was, let's start with Dustin, who's the winner. Dustin was there to just, you know, the game plan definitely was there. I don't think there was a game plan. Excuse me. I do not think there was a game plan, and I like that Dustin goes into fights like this because it makes him have to think while he's in there, and that makes him a little bit of a better fighter. You know, one thing that Dustin did that a lot of fighters don't do with Conor, he was pressuring him. He was pushing forward, giving him a lot of pressure, and that was forcing Conor to do maybe some things he usually would need space to do. Very smart on Dustin Poirier's behalf as well. And then when Conor took him down, when Conor went for that guillotine, Dustin kind of let him tire out that arms a little bit, and for him to be, you know, it's going to be harder for Conor to throw those punches in the later rounds. So letting him tire his arm out in that guillotine, even though he wasn't really in too much of danger, that was smart on Dustin's behalf as well. Another thing too, you got to give Dustin a lot of credit for being still gracious in defeat. It was extremely hard for him to hear Conor speak about his wife and things like that, which I feel was unneeded. That didn't have to go that deep. But at the same time, that's something, you know, as a man, you don't want to hear some guy talk about your wife. If you hear something like that, you want to beat him up, you know? And I feel like Dustin wanted to do that within the fight as well, but didn't get a chance as the fight went on. But a lot of good things that Dustin did there. I feel that he was throwing good combos too when they were standing, and that's what he caught Conor McGregor with, you know, especially with that pressure. Conor McGregor, got to give him credit for what he did in there too. Came into that fight, he's throwing leg kicks. Everybody wants to see, that's something. Everybody always calls Conor this one-sided fighter. You can only do this, do that. Then when he learns new things, you know, nobody really gives him credit for that, but we have to give him credit for that. He was throwing leg kicks. Last time he's throwing calf kicks, excuse me. Last time you ever seen Conor kick that much was against Nate Diaz, and he ended up winning that fight, and those kicks did affect Nate Diaz. Those kicks were affecting Dustin Poirier as well. As you can see, he was throwing them back. They were hard and heavy kicks. You got to give him credit for that. You have to give him credit as well for throwing elbows off his back. He was still staying active. He was not letting Dustin Poirier just do whatever he wanted while he was on the ground. You got to give him credit for that. Conor McGregor throwing a submission. That's something you don't really see from Conor. He has submitted people in the past, rear naked choke, I believe. But that's something you don't usually see from Conor McGregor. So you got to give him credit for that. But there's so many other questions, you know, we still want to ask. Would Conor have gas? Was Dustin Poirier going to finish him the next round? There's a lot of questions that we can ask here that we didn't get answered, unfortunately, but a couple of things I want to mention as well. Dustin Poirier has to fight for that title. As you can see over here, that's when he won the interim title. He wants to fight for that undisputed title. And I definitely want to see that happen. Him against Charles Oliveira, that needs to happen next. Even if Conor didn't get injured, I don't know. I still want to see Dustin versus Charles Oliveira. To me, it's a more compelling matchup. We got to we have to not forget things that Conor has said in the past. I know everybody's like, man, he's going far. Yeah, he did go too far. Absolutely. But Conor has gone far a lot of times. It's different now because he hasn't won as much. When he was winning those fights and he was undefeated, he was saying those things. Nobody really cared. Nobody really cared as much because he was winning. Now that he is losing, it's very risky when he says a lot of these things. And I mentioned this last week. When you make comments such as he's going to leave in a stretcher, and I forget a couple other things that he said, those can come back to bite you in your ass. He said some things long time ago, but he would back him up and he would win and go do exactly what he says. It's not as easy with guys like Dustin Poirier, so it was a little bit more of an issue. So we have to remember that as well. I don't think this is a new Conor McGregor. I think this is the same Conor McGregor just fighting somebody tougher. He's still saying things that want to give you that reaction. I know people are going to hate me for saying this, but if Dustin Poirier wins that title against Charles Oliveira, we are going to see Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor for the UFC lightweight title, and we're going to see him fight for a fourth time. That's just the way the business works. And because Dustin Poirier wants to fight him again, he wants that fight again. You have to think about a lot of different things. He feels very confident that he can beat Conor McGregor. He does have Conor McGregor's number right now, absolutely. And the amount of money that he can make to add on to what he just made from this card, why wouldn't he want to do that? I can completely understand that. And then you can finally close the book on that. Something that Conor is very good at, even in a loss just like that he just had, and sitting on the floor with his ankle broken. He still created a narrative there in order for him to get another fight. Do I personally want to see Conor get that rematch immediately when he comes back against Dustin? No, I feel that he should fight somebody else. Maybe the trilogy with Nate Diaz, of course. Maybe Michael Chandler, risky on the UFC's part because Michael Chandler can wrestle. So I don't know how much they'd want to put him in that position because the UFC does give him sometimes favorable matchups, like back in the day with a Dennis Seaver. Let's be realistic about that. There's matchups with Tony Ferguson. He's got matchups that he can take before he fights Dustin again, but they got to have him fight someone before Dustin because he needs that, I guess, a tune-up kind of a fight. You know, not a Donald Cerrone, but somebody that was up there in that upper echelon of that top five. I still think Conor went in there, and I think he had a full training camp. I just don't think he's been active enough. You have to be very active to fight a guy like Dustin. Dustin Poirier is fighting 3 to 4 times per year. It might be less going forward because he's made a crazy amount of money. He doesn't need to do it. And it's okay to take that rest on your body as well. But he's got to be more active. That is something that is very important. Conor's got to be more active. I know a lot of people are just like, man, Dustin Poirier won this fight, but you're talking about Conor more. He knows how to create these things to where you're talking about him more, even though the other guy won. It's tough, but the man definitely gave enough headlines to speak more about things. But of course, kudos to Dustin Poirier for a big win there. A lot of pressure was riding on him. There was a huge crowd there. A lot of things could have got to him. Conor was sitting on the floor yelling to Dustin, calling his wife names, and Dustin could have reacted in a crazy, crazy way, but he didn't do that. And we have to give credit there for that. That is amazing on his behalf. And I'm not upset at Joe Rogan for interviewing Conor on the floor. I don't think it was that big of an issue. I get his leg is broken, but he's still sitting there talking on the floor. So you want to go get that interview. I'm sure the people in his ear from the UFC are telling him, go get that interview. Go get that interview. We need to hear what he has to say. And they're going to use all those things in a promo for when they fight for a fourth time. I know everybody does it. Fourth time. Yeah, it's going to happen a fourth time. Just like Manny Pacquiao Marquez fought. I know it's boxing, but a fourth time. And the best fight was a fourth time that they fought. So definitely interested to see what happens there. And I personally think they will be fighting again. But that was definitely a spectacle of a fight. There's just so much riding when you watch Poirier and Conor McGregor fight. You've never seen a boring matchup with Poirier or McGregor. Never. It's always fun. So I definitely was happy to see that. And we'll see what happens with Dustin next. We see what happened with Conor next. We'll see what happens if Conor can recover from such an injury. It's hard, you know. I remember when he tore his ACL when he fought Max Holloway, and he had that long recovery, came back. He looked really good, and he recovered pretty fast as well. So that's going to be interesting to see. And now that he has so much money, is he going to want to come back? He says he wants to. You can tell he still is intense. You can tell he really wants that fight back. You can tell his ego just wants to get back in there. But it's definitely going to create some kind of a story for sure going forward. So that's going to be very interesting to see. A couple other things from that card. Besides that, I know we can talk for years and ages about that main event. We had Gilbert Burns take on Wonderboy in that co-main event. I know it wasn't the most interesting fight, but Gilbert Burns did everything he needed to win that fight. Does that guarantee him another title shot? I don't think so, because I feel like he'd have to finish Wonderboy in some spectacular fashion to even consider him back up there. But he's probably going to have to fight somebody else. You know what? And he has so many different people that he can fight, from Leon Edwards to Jorge Masvidal, maybe Kobe if they want to do that. He has a lot of options, but he's still now there in that mix. As for Wonderboy, he didn't have a terrible performance. He just got out-grappled there, and Gilbert did the right things of pressuring him against the cage. It was a very smart move on Gilbert Burns' behalf, but Wonderboy is still up there. There's a couple guys that he can fight, from the Neil Magnies to the maybe a Hazmat. Is he going to go into a gatekeeper kind of role? It's a possibility. Do I want to see him in that position? It's tough because I feel like Stephen Wonderboy is still such a high caliber competitor and an elite striker. It was very hard for Burris to take him down. Not like he was getting taken down at ease. So you can tell that he can still be up there with those top welterweights. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with Thompson and with Gilbert Burns. Also on that main card, we had Irene Adania take on Jana Kucetsova, and that was, wow, Aldania's striking looked amazing, as it has before, but against Holly Holm, it looked a little lackluster. But Aldania went in there, pretty much dominated Jana, and kind of puts her name back in that mix at 135 to see who can strike with Amanda Nunes, or not just strike, but who can match up right with Amanda Nunes. So it still puts her up there. Is that going to give her a title shot? Probably not, because she didn't make weight. She was overweight by 4 pounds. She said she was recovering from COVID and it was still having some effect on her body. So, of course, well wishes out on it, but you can't come in that heavy. If you're going to come in that heavy and you kind of know it already, I don't know. Ask for a catch weight. Ask for something. Change that up because it just doesn't look good, even though she looked good. She looked very good in that fight. Then we also had Greg Hardy take on Tai Tuivasa. And as soon as the heavyweights, the big boys, Greg Hardy took on Tai Tuivasa in the heavyweight matchup. And Greg Hardy, there's so many things you could say about Greg Hardy. Of course, he has a past, which was, I'm not going to be here to speak about it. I don't know enough about it, but it's not the best thing ever. And then you have Tai Tuivasa, a guy who was on a 3-fight winning streak when he first went to the UFC, then went on a losing streak, came back. Now he's on a 2-fight winning streak. Now 3, if you add Greg Hardy, because he went in there and knocked him out within the first 2 minutes. As soon as Greg Hardy got in there, he's like, oh, step into the middle. Let's do it. You want to go toe-to-toe. He ends up catching Tai Tuivasa, ran in too fast and just tried to get that finish. Tai catches him, knocks him to the ground, did his shoey, of course. And what a smart thing and a smart guy to put on a card with Conor McGregor, because now everybody knows Tai Tuivasa even more. And I feel like he's one of the most exciting fighters to watch, because he goes in there and he's like, listen, I'm either going to finish you or you're going to finish me. And he just goes balls to the wall when he's in there. Impressive performance by Tai Tuivasa. He said he's going to go over to AKA and train some wrestling with DC and the boys, Habib and Javier Mendez over there. And I can't wait to see how he looks even better when he comes back into the octagon. I think Tai should go against somebody in that top 15, even top 10, to be completely honest. There's a couple guys in there I feel like would be fun. Maybe a Tai Tuivasa against Walt Harris, maybe Tai Tuivasa against Volkov. Since Greg Hardy went and 3 rounds of Volkov, I feel like Tai Tuivasa can go 3 rounds of Volkov, or maybe finish him, or the other way around. We don't know. As far as it goes with Greg Hardy, I feel that Greg Hardy probably should have had more time in the regionals. He is a guy who is literally learning as he's in there right now. He's been fighting only since 2018. That's 3 years. This is a professional football player turned mixed martial artist, and he's learning a lot. And he's still young. He's 32 years old. If I'm the UFC, I don't know how many times I'm going to keep putting him on these main cards. I guess he's somewhat of a draw. Do I think he's that huge of a draw to where he can main event a card and be that top person that everybody wants to watch? I don't think so, but I want to see Tai go back into those regional kind of shows and work his way back. I think he can do, not Tai, excuse me, Greg. And I think he can do that. I think it's definitely possible. And then, of course, to open the card, we had Sugar Sean O'Malley dominate someone who probably shouldn't be in there with him, to be completely honest. There was guys in the UFC who didn't take the fight because they weren't close to weight. And I feel that was a little embarrassing, with I respect these guys, of course, but the Ricky Simones and all the other guys saying they would take the fight, and they were nowhere near to make that weight. And he had to fight somebody who was fighting in the regionals and who probably wasn't there to like compete as much, But hey, he stuck in there. He took a lot of damage, so much damage given by Sean O'Malley in that fight. They kept saying Sean was getting tired. I don't think he was. It's hard to say he was getting tired, but he was hitting him with a lot. So maybe it did hit him a little bit, and he was looking up at the time. But either way, he went in there and he dominated. I think that fight should have been stopped after the second round, because if you have to basically carry somebody to their chair, I don't think they should come out for a third round. That's the brain shaking right there, and he's probably concussed. So that's probably not the greatest thing ever. And I feel bad for the guy, for taking that much damage. But listen, made 75K extra money, money he's never made before. Is the brain damage worth it? I don't think so. That's time off your life that takes away. So I feel like it should have been stopped a little earlier than that. But hey, what happened happened. But a couple other things I want to bring on talk about in the card as well. We had Max Griffin defeat Carlos Condit. It's been a while since we've seen Carlos Condit get completely dominated while he's been striking and knocked to the ground. We haven't seen that happen to Carlos Condit in a very long time. So Max Griffin went in there, proved that he is one of the top welterweights, and he needs to start fighting people in that top 15. We got to give Max Holloway a chance to fight these guys up there in the top 15. A lot of guys he can fight, of course. He looked good. He looked very good. Another person I want to point out Ilia Topuria. Wow. I said this before the fight. He's going to look very good. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, Hall's going to submit him, get a leg lock, something like that. It was too difficult. Ilia was just too smooth. He moved around too much. Perfect positioning. Ends up catching Ryan Hall, knocking him out. And that's Ryan Hall's first KO loss in his career. Ryan Hall is definitely on the older side. He's 36 years old. Tuporia's 24. Young guy. I want to see him fight somebody maybe ranked a little bit below the featherweight. We don't have to rush him. You can take your time with him. But if they do want to rush him, I think he's game. I think he has every aspect of this game to be very good. And he's one of those guys who's been doing this since he was so young. And even though he's still young, but even younger than that. And at age 24, he looks the way that he did. So that's going to be very interesting to see how Topuria carries on in the rest of his career. Any other things that I'm thinking about on that card. The Jessica Ai and Jennifer Maia was interesting. I thought Jessica Ai won that fight. I feel like the blood maybe swayed it the other way. If you look at the statistics, Jessica Ai was leading in everything. She had 2 takedowns. We got to put that all into effect. But that could have gone either way at the same time as well. And it was just such a really good card from that whole entire card. The Nico Price and Michelle Piera was good. I thought that was fight of the night. I don't think the Sean O'Malley fight was the fight of the night. Sean O'Malley was dominating that. It wasn't back and forth. I thought the Nico Price and Michelle Piera fight was the fight of the night for me, in my personal opinion. I thought it should have went there. But so many good things on that card. If you guys have not watched it, you should definitely rewatch it, or highlights or something as well. That is awesome to see. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to talk to you guys about this card. Of course, comment everything that you can below this post. I will respond. As soon as I can, because I want to talk to you guys about these things. It's just always fun to hear other perspectives as well. And when I do another one of these, I'm going to put out a link for you guys to submit some questions, either by video or just a question you want to put out there. So at the end of the show, I can talk to you guys about any questions that you have. Of course, I'll always be on Instagram Live doing stuff on that platform as well, as many platforms as I can. But as I said before, I appreciate every single one of you guys for always being here, watching me, and giving me your time of your day, because you don't have to do that. Of course, I'm going to put this podcast on every stream platform from Spotify, iTunes, Google, everywhere. It's going to be there. New set coming very, very, very soon. Still have merch, of course. I can't wait for you guys to see the new set. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Can't wait for you guys to see the new show as well. Can't wait for you guys to see everything I have in preparation for this journey that I am on. This week, I will be working back as coordinator for a bare knuckle event, which is going to be fun. It's at the Hard Rock here in Hollywood, Florida. So I won't be as active this week. We do have a fight card on Saturday. We got Thiago Moses taking on Islam Makhachev. We got the return of Miesha Tate. She's taking on Marion Renault. That's going to be good as well. Got a card on Saturday. We got a Bellator card on Friday. We got Lewis versus Gane coming up. Nunes versus Pena. We got so much coming up, guys. You know I love this freaking sport, and I love every single one of you. I will be back very soon. Not sure exactly what date that will be, but very soon, guys. And it's going to be a brand new set, something very, very new. I appreciate every single one of you. Mystic Black out. Boom! Mystic Black still here. Boo.